Welcome to the Daily Edge. Steve, Jake, Mark, we are the Nudelbergs. Let's start with our affirmation as we always do.
Always.
I may not have all the answers, but I will outlast, outwork, and outwill anyone in pursuit of my goals. The question is, can persistence be the only thing that makes you successful? The question is, can persistence be the only thing that makes you successful? Yes or no, lightning round, yes or no answer?
No.
Yes? No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
No.
If you force me.
Let's go.
Okay. So no.
Okay.
Why can't persistence
Present
be the
your
only
case.
thing that makes you
So
successful?
it depends on what your definition is.
Objection, Your
of
Honor.
success, right? Leading the witness. Right? I think, success is the ultimate. You
What
can't
is
get to
success?
The ultimate.
What is success?
You'll always be mediocre. There'll always be some other step that you can grind through it to get there, but someone will always be better and win. And
Are we
all of
talking?
those
Which
Sports,
which avenue
business,
are we talking about?
Doesn't
everything
matter.
you
I think
want.
I actually think it doesn't matter. I think whether you're talking about your fitness, whether you're talking about your finances,
You
whether you're
don't
talking about
have
your
to be-
career,
you don't have
whether
to
you're
be the
talking
best.
about so
Well,
But
this
you
is
have to
out
strive
on.
to be the best.
Well,
right.
well,
So
we're talking-
I like what you said, because you said you can't get the most.
No,
You can't get the
there'll
most.
always be a
So your answer is yes. You can be successful strictly through persistence. Help us understand why.
I wish I could do a real poll of this,
Okay.
but I would genuinely. I'm just gonna say it. People are lazy. Most people are.
1,000%.
Right? Most people are lazy. Like I have found that giving more in my personal life, and look, we just did an episode on nepotism,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there was no nepotism when I grew up playing football. I was 5'8" and Jewish, right?
Yeah, no help.
Like there was maybe a little bit when I there was
No
maybe
help.
a little bit when
No
I
help.
started at Florida under McElwain because you had worked for him, but then none under Mullen because I
Yep.
didn't know anybody. And I will tell you in my life that I was just willing to outwork certain people.
1,000%.
Outwork certain people. And I think in majority of things in this life, if you worked harder than people, you would be in the top 25%.
So
that's okay.
Right.
And I agree with you. There's no substitute for the work.
Right.
That's a non-conversation. But work without talent.
Well, so
you're saying
I'm gonna
the
put this
question
in
was
context.
success.
I'm gonna put this in context of our training and our sales community. I tell everybody in our sales training, everybody who's in our community, we have 3 non-negotiables. First one is preparation. Second one is personalization. Third one is persistence. If you in our community only apply persistence, you don't apply preparation, you don't apply personalization, you will not be the most successful in our group, and you're going to not get the most. You're not going to get the most. You could still find a level of success. I agree with you, Jake. You could still find a level of success.
Well, look at the Heat. The Heat are a good example.
The Miami Heat right now are a wonderful example.
Did you guys do like pre-show notes without me? Is this like the question was persistence, right? Well,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that negated preparation.
It doesn't.
I was
Well,
gonna
the
say, I
question
didn't
was, can
realize-
persistence
whoa.
be the only thing that makes you successful?
Okay.
That was the question.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
are you going back? You're going back on your statement right now?
Look at the Heat.
No,
Let's talk
no,
about
Look
the
at
Heat.
the
Let's talk about the Miami
Because
Heat.
it's a good
Do we have
example
to?
of a team culture that is they never die.
Well, I
They
don't.
keep
Persistence,
coming.
persistence,
They keep coming.
persistence.
They're fucking annoying.
Right.
They're the Steelers to me.
They're
Like,
annoying, man.
They
I
are
play-
going to outwork
Right.
you
I played ball against guys like that. They're like a
99.999%
gnat.
of
They
the
were all
time.
over the place.
The gnat.
Stop.
Right.
Right.
You know?
And it got them to be good enough to get into the playoffs, right? Which
They
would
shock some
say
people, right?
you are successful as a
Right.
season. Like, hey, you made the postseason.
This is.
Listen, if I'm a fan, I want them to tank so that they can get the right draft pick.
Well,
you know?
so what they're
successful.
lacking is a lot of skill, right? They have an unbelievable amount of persistence, but they're lacking a certain level of talent and skill that was wildly obvious in the first game against the Cavaliers.
Can we back it up? What is success?
Sure. Yeah,
right.
I started with that. I agree.
Like,
right.
And I like Dad's a definition of it: getting the most out of whatever. I don't give a fuck what it is. Getting the most out of yourself, getting the most out of your fitness, getting the most out of your finances, getting the most out of your relationships.
That's not
getting the most.
There is a built-in bar. There is a trophy that you're going for.
Sure.
There's something.
Right.
You know, there are goals that I set in my life, things that I wanted. You know, my vision board was always really important. That were sort of the leave behinds of success. But, you know, I think if you work hard, that is a part of the equation.
Let's go through it. I actually love this exercise. Yeah. Let's go through the different industries where if you were just persistent, you think you could find success. I'm curious if we could go through it, right?
Okay.
Different industries or different roles?
Jobs.
Right.
Jobs. Probably an easier one. Because I was like, the funny one I started with in my head was being like, oh, if you're a persistent father. Right. And I was like, that's a great thing. And then I was like, unless you're persistently an asshole.
Right.
Let's look at things. Let's look at things like medical. Doctor. I don't want a doctor that works hard.
Let's talk about hospitality. Let's talk about hospitality.
Unreasonable.
Let's talk about hospitality. Whether you're in the restaurant business, whether you're in
skill,
persistence, you're going. If you're a waiter and you show up to the table 25 times with absolutely no personality, and you're just like, "What can I get you? Can I get you anything else?"
Right. It's not personal.
Yeah. There's no kind of. You need a skill. You need energy.
Think of all of this. I'm a doctor. I'm an attorney. I'm not hiring an attorney that, oh my God, he works 24 hours a day, but he sucks.
Let's talk about salespeople, right? Like,
and I have coached those people where if they're not willing to upskill, hard work alone is not enough.
I was just in a conversation with a sales leader that was like, look, and I'm not going to use real names, but like we have this guy Charlie, right? And Charlie is an anomaly. Because if you listen to any of Charlie's calls, you'd be like, oh my God, what is he doing? What is he saying? Like, this is terrible. Yet he finds himself in the President's Club every single year because he shows up and does the process every single day.
I'm going to blow your minds here because this is the way I looked at business. Yes, a guy like that is doing enough to get into President's Club. I look at all the people he pissed off and offended, and
he's definitely not getting the most.
He's not getting the most.
Definitely not getting the most
for my business. This guy is representing me, and yet he's bringing in his unfair share. Right. But the other people are talking about. Look at this.
Right.
I think if you compare them to a machine gun. You're not going to use a machine.
Right.
Honestly,
correct.
Though,
correct. Correct. That's what,
Right.
Persistent people can be, it's a great analogy. They could be a machine gun.
Right. You have to make sure that person is pointed in the right place.
Right.
Like a factory worker is a very successful factory worker.
Right. Just showing up. Bang, bang, bang. Right. As consistent as could be.
But is that not success?
You're not getting. So I agree with that here, right? You're not getting the most. Can you find a level?
Fan watching this product that they put out there that is
well, you know what? Who cares about fans? Who cares about who cares? Do you think the Heat are satisfied?
Unfortunately, I think
if the Heat gets swept in this first round, does everybody in that locker room go, you know what? We got the most out of ourselves.
Oh my God!
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yes, I think they do.
I think all of them would believe that they gave.
Well, it's not enough for who? It's not enough for the organization leaders. It's not enough for the fans.
I agree.
I agree.
Wait. It's not enough for the fans or the organization, but it might be enough for the individual.
Well, there are guys on that team that are overachieving.
Well, so this brings us to another one of our conversations, which is like, does your role really matter as long as you're winning? Right? Because this squad alone. And you may be on a team right now. You may be on a team right now.
To think on this show.
You may be on a team right now that, listen, the pieces that you guys have put together are just not good enough, not to go where you want to go, right? Whether it's you want to 10x your year over year growth, whether you want to double your business, whether you want to go to new areas, you may not have the right team together. And so in order for you to reach the vision of what you're trying to get to, you may have to go somewhere else where they have other pieces that help you get there.
One of the shows we did, you said if it's not good enough,
it's got to change.
You got to change.
That's right. If it's not the best,
if it's not
it
the
has
best,
to change.
You said that.
That is our quote that we live by here.
We are living that.
It's not the best it can be. It has to change.
So that flies in the face of, well, I'm just going to work harder. You got to have the skills.
Right.
You have to have skills. When you put those two together, determination and persistence with skills, boom.
What do you got, Jake?
What percentage of the organization can't be those people? Just the grinders. Like, and every organization's different, but I think about that. Like, if there was a generic percentage of
just grind, no skill.
Yeah, we just got to have grinders. Now,
I don't think you can have more than. I don't think you can have more than like 35%.
I call it in every company. Let's say administration. You're in your administration.
And let's just go by the generic rule that the bottom 20% of every organization is going to exist. There's always going to be the bottom 20% that aren't good enough, that have to turn over and have to go. So you're immediately left with only 80% of your organization that's going to fit into the successful mold. How much of that 80% can only be persistent grinders and lack like significant skill and lack like it's a low percentage, bro.
If you listen to
it's a low percentage. It's not 40% of that 80.
If you listen to Jack Welch, he said get rid of that 20% and constantly upskill.
Well, correct. So we're saying there's 80%, right, that are not the bottom low performers. These people are just grind it out. They're going to hammer the process and the numbers every day. They're not really talented. They don't really have a ton of skills. They're just going to do it over and over. Those people are going to be inside of your 80%. Those people are going to be inside of the working part of your business. What percentage of that should exist? There's no way it's more than 40%. There's no way it's more than 35%.
No. Yeah. I mean,
it's a low percentage.
I mean,
maybe another 20%, another 30% max.
I admire people that work hard. I mean, so yes.
Right.
And there are people who don't have the skill sets that do outwork people with talent.
Correct.
So that
because when talent does not have persistence, they are going to get beat.
Okay, so we got there.
Right.
So, but you ain't getting the most without talent.
Look, back in the day, it was like, you tried out for a basketball team or a football team, and it was like, we're not telling you not to go play the sport. You just can't play it here.
Right. Yeah. You're just not good enough for here.
You're just not good enough. Right. And I think in sports, that's a realistic expectation that everybody is eventually going to hear. You're just not good enough anymore. It doesn't matter. If you've played any sport ever,
have heard that.
Yep.
At some point, somebody looked at you and said,
you're not good enough.
You will reach a level where you're not good enough.
You will either know it or somebody will tell you.
I agree.
And that doesn't exist as much in business, baby.
1000%.
Right.
Well, right. And I think this is part of my problem, which is business in general, is that we allow people to just sit we allow people to just accept mediocrity. We allow people to just go, it's good enough. Good enough is like one of that good enough. And that's the way we do it. That's just the way we do it. Are the two worst terms in any team, in any organization ever.
But the bigger you get, that's
the harder it is. Yeah,
sure.
So like in a small organization like ours, you're either performing or you're not.
Yep.
It's obvious.
Yep.
When you scale and you start, all of a sudden we have locations on both coasts, and there's, there is going to be some level of
human error.
Right. Some level
standard
of
deviation.
That you just need people to show up and work.
Yeah,
we need bodies.
Right.
So you can't support the growth without bodies. I think I'm saying the same thing. I think,
I don't know.
The idea is you have an ideal that you want to strive for. Not everybody's going to get there.
Which is that persistence is not enough.
Right.
Only effort is not enough. I will tell you, effort is not enough. I will stand on that.
I agree.
I will stand on that forever.
You're looking at it right. You're looking at it.
Here's the thing. Can you get better?
Right.
That
absolutely. If you're only focused on effort, you can absolutely get better.
I needed to get better. In order for our businesses to grow, I needed to get better. in this phase of our business, I am better than I've ever been because I had to be.
Right.
I had to figure out where to put my nose and where not to put my nose. And you know the conversations we have, So I think if you're looking to get better and you have work ethic that hits that, that's the combination that is the winner.
Bingo. I agree 1,000%. Jake,
Yeah,
your last word.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
We got you? We got you? We flipped you over there?
By the way, see me after this meeting.
We flipped you.
Persistence is not the only key to success, or however the question was worded. I think you flipped it.
If your goal, so we're going to leave it with this. If your goal is to get the most, shout out to Dad for that definition. If your goal is to get the most, persistence is not enough. You are going to have to match it with passion. You are going to have to match it with preparation. You're going to have to match it with the skill development in order to get the most out
I would
of yourself.
love to hear what people think about this. This is a really good topic.
Please,
there is no definitive
let
answer.
us know.
Let us know.
Comment in there.
only-
Is persistence enough to be
The
successful
only
to
thing
get the most?
The only thing we do know is without persistence, no shot.
No
Correct.
shot.
That is correct. And that is a fact that without persistence, you're wasting your time.
Listen, I have to say,
They
back
have
in
been
the
listening,
day
by the way.
when, I'm talking to you guys, but back in the day when I worked out in Weston and The Rock was in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
he was in the gym. Nobody knew he was the guy that he became.
He was Rocky Maivia at that
right,
point.
exactly.
Bogus.
But people started talking to him, and he said the one thing you have to do is outwork everybody.
Yep.
He goes, I outworked everybody. So you can't be successful without it. But he also matched that with
Skill
sets
development.
outside
Right.
of football.
Correct.
Football was not his lane.
Correct.
Right?
They told him he wasn't good enough.
You were not good enough to play.
Worked his
man.
ass off. Not
Right,
good enough.
so
Can't play
even-
here.
That's a good example.
So be
of
an actor.
Pay attention to the clues.
Right. Became a wrestler, wrestler and an actor. Thank you guys for another wonderful episode. Thank you for finding the edge with us. Remember to like, comment, and share, particularly on this episode. We want to hear whether or not you think persistence is enough to be successful. We'll see you next time.